reverence that any marksman player who has played against Uzi will talk about him with. His oppressive lane phase is very, very big. That's why when we're looking at the beginning of this Champion Select, RNG have had 3 straight early Xayah picks.
Ooh, not today, Kobe. Right as you say it, SKT, take it away.
And that's that adaptation that we're looking for from the first day that these teams play, taking that away from Uzi. Xayah right now, with the self-peel of the ultimate and the strong laning phase, combines every aspect of League that RNG want to play off.
Banning the Morgana as well.
Yeah, the Morgana ban suggests that SKT could be looking at something like the Rakan. RNG immediately going to take the Kayle away from SKT.
I think Lee Sin would be a very good pick into an early Kayle here because you want the options as a jungler, and Elise is already banned out first on RNG's side. Lee Sin gives you so much playmaking that you can try and attack teams that are drafting Kayle that are trying to scale up a bit towards later. Plus, Sklid is extremely proficient on it, and there they go. SKT have got it.
Rise and the Lee Sin. I love it. I hope it goes into the hands of Faker, but has still the potential to be flexed to the top side of the map. And this is going to be the Jarvan now locked in, a champion that's been kind of missing in pick bans thus far.
And it's a champion that synergizes very well with those big AoE ultimates. Kayle really enables divers here. And so RNG are already showing in the first 2 picks, they are looking at 5v5s, they're looking at some AoE combinations. Jarvan Cataclysm trying to keep people in a group for either the Kayle ultimate and something else on top of it. You can look for things like Rumble or Gnar for the top lane to get some more AoE in there.
So looking at final pick for SKT, they could look to go for something like a Kai'Sa right now if they wanted to. Scales quite well, would also add a late game insurance to this composition that SKT is already drafting for themselves and could match the AD carry pick already locked in for RNG. And then SKT would also get priority on the supports in the second half as well.
Personally surprised to see Uzi go for the Ezreal instead of the Kai'Sa himself. Kai'Sa and Xayah perceived to be the top 2 carries. Interestingly enough, Garen and Ezreal are the 2 right behind them as far as bot laners go.
And one of the biggest pros for Ezreal is that is a self-sufficient carry, right? If you're designing a team around diving in with Kayle and Jarvan and you want to use your Kayle ultimate offensively, you don't want to have to save that Kayle ultimate for your AD carry, so you pick Ezreal, has the arcane shift that can keep himself safe while the rest of the team dives forward.
Now that Tahm Kench ban might seem a little odd. However, throughout the split, something that RNG would consistently run is Ezreal Tahm Kench, and they would force dives with it. They would look to attack the bot lane very aggressively, and it was something that actually paid off dividends for them during their playoffs. So SKT showcasing their research.
Completely agree there. On top of it, SK Telecom are also drafting side lane pressure right now. They have a Ryze that can split push and a Kai'Sa that can join fights from very far away when you apply the plasma for her. So you don't want a Tahm Kench to save people in those situations. You are trying to split the map. You are trying to play the side lanes, and Tahm Kench is a very good ban to deny that.
And now with the Karma banned out as well, if that was a target at Ming, it looks like they're trying to deny a strong pushing bot lane from the side of Royal Never Give Up. We are going to enter the second pick phase shortly as the Twisted Fate will be denied from Faker, giving respect over to the flex pick Rise.
So now SKT, they want to lock in their support. They want to save that final solo lane pick to try and get the best possible matchup. And a lot of the primary supports that we've been seeing this meta have been banned away. Rakan is still open, should either team want to go for it. But it looks like SKT, they want a little bit more engaged, so they're going to lock in the Leona. And this has now become a pretty strong 2v2 lane that SKT could look to play through depending on what their other solo lane is.
Exactly. Looking at playmaking to try and attack the bottom lane of RNG. That's one thing that we talked about in game number 1 with these teams that SK Telecom tried to do. Now they've got Kai'Sa Leona for the extra stuns and Lee Sin to be able to make those moves.
And there's that dive you were talking about, Kobe. The Galio going to be following up from the Jarvan and the Kayle ultimate on top of that. So RNG sticking to what they often know, which is go in, fight hard, fight fast.
And I love to see it. I love the Jarvan Galio combo. Pairing it with a Kayle feels so powerful, and it gives them some semi-global presence to match a lot of what SKT beat them with last time around. And I mean, if you get a Gnar here, if he's just going to build a wall and throw him into it, no, Mordekai's in the end. But when you saw how long she played in the last matchup, it makes a lot of sense. This was such a good pick for him.
Yeah, one thing that I would say he didn't do good last time was ult the jungler around objectives. So we're going to look at some of the ult usage for this Mordekaiser, but a lot of the pros of this champion are that you can actually delay even longer in 2v1 scenarios. If the jungler comes to gank you, you can then ult the jungler, have your 1v1, delay even further before going down and allow your team to get that fight off.
I will say I'm a big fan of this SKT draft. I feel like that they have good scaling matchup in the top side. Fake will be able to generate a lot of pressure in the mid lane, which means he has priority and can move towards the side lanes much earlier. And you also have a strong bot lane that you can look to make play towards now. It's not easy against an Ezreal or Galio, very defensive lane, but if you bring 4 members down with a Gangplank ultimate, SKT can definitely force these fights. So I feel like that the early game is a lot more in control of SKT.
Yeah, it's not as powerful as the Twisted Fate ultimate going down there to gank, but the Gangplank ultimate is the same idea for SKT. They do want to have something to keep them in check.
And one of the things that RNG is going to struggle with is this Kayle in the mid lane. Because it will not be able to generate pressure and because you can't really play through it, Faker is going to have so much freedom to ramp up and be this big threat on a side lane. And something we've been seeing a lot from Kayle's is that because you don't have the same strength in the early game, teams have built early leads and then ran away with it.
And Rise combos very well with Lee Sin. If Faker just sets him up with the root, that is going to be a lot of 2v2 pressure.
But here we go. And here we are, RNG versus SKT. Last time, SKT got the better of RNG, but RNG looking to turn it around today, looking to tie up the score, potentially force a tiebreaker at the end of the day for first seed. If SKT win here, they lock themselves a place in the knockout stage. So much on the line for both these lineups.
Now, in terms of early game, we talked about how it's hard for RNG to play through mid, and arguably it's a little difficult to play through bot as well, but the top lane is something that I think RNG could look to attack. Mordekaiser, his early damage is something that I think a lot of people don't respect. It is extremely high, and when paired up with a Jarvan, it is very easy to look to set up dives onto someone like a Gangplank. So we have to keep our eyes on how Karsa chooses to path in the early game, whether he'll look to path from top side to bot to cover his bot lane, or whether he'll actually look for some early aggression up towards the top side of the map.
Meanwhile, on the side of SKT, I think Klid's going to put a high priority on this bottom Scuttle Crab because he wants to play between this mid and bottom lane triangle that we like to talk about so he can threaten both the Ryze lane and the Leona lane. Both of those champions, ideal setups for early Lee Sin plays, and you want to be able to freely move through that river. So pay attention to the vision control around this river because it's going to be kind of the highway that he uses to traverse both lanes.
And let's have a look at this early ward that was placed down from the side of Khan, because you can see that by getting information on the blue buff, this now tells him where Jarvan is starting. He's likely going to be on red and look to path towards top, but Karsa immediately going towards bot.
Jarvan, as you can see on the minimap, is wrapping around to do a lane gank, but an intelligent ward from Effort there in the side brush. Actually, probably from Teddy, places it down, and they've given away the situation already.
And they've spent so much time now. Jarvan just starting his Krugs as Lee Sin has finished his. Klid going to be so much further ahead. Could now look to contest that bottom Scuttle Crab. Actually, probably uncontested at this stage if Jarvan wants to go for a safe clear.
You're exactly right, Dracos. The timing that was invested to try and make that play happen and the fact that it was spotted out means that Klid is going to be out on the map so much faster. He's already been able to clear both his red and Krugs. He's going to get level 3 off of this blue, and they have the vision set up in the bot side of the map. They have hit level 2. They could look for an easy game.
Mordekaiser going to find the pullback. Won't be able to get anything else done, but already seeing the Gangplank for now, at least having some pressure on the top side as Klid sets his sights on the mid lane. We've seen a lot of tower dives onto early level Kales this tournament. Has to be something that Xiao is aware of, but for now it will just be a focus on stealing away the enemy rafters. Good start for Klid so far.
Exactly. This is the early bottom river control that I was alluding to in the opening of the game. They've got 2 wards, both sides of the entrances of this river. Klid also stealing away the Raptor camp. This is exactly how SK Telecom want the early map to play out. Now trying to force him off the CS here. They're not really threatening to go for the kill on the dive, just pushing Xiaohu back a bit.
Faker will pull away, but difficult so far for Karsa. Bottom lane gank does not work out due to a clever ward. He's been spotted twice now as the Khan on the top side did just get a brief glimpse of where he was pathing.
I love seeing this early vision from SKT. It's just how efficient they are with all of their members. There's always wards somewhere to just gain information, know what RNG is up to, and to mitigate it. The early ward into the bot lane, the early ward onto the enemy blue buff, anything that Karsa has tried to do has been reacted with perfectly and has been shut down, and now Clid has even found a small advantage by stealing away the Raptor.
Checking in again on the bottom side. Uzi doing fine so far, but a much more even bottom lane than it was last time around. Obviously, massive early CS discrepancies in the favor of Uzi when he was on that Xayah. Now pushed back onto this Ezreal. A historic pick for him, but not one that was as powerful in seasons past. You're going to have to see what he can actually get done with it.
Yeah, Uzi extremely good at trying to weave those Mystic shots through the minions for harassment in lane phase. And I just want to once again compliment SKT for their early raid as far as the warding on bottom side. Knowing that RNG is going to send Karsa down there very early to try and take advantage of what would normally be a very aggressive lane. Let's see here though, as Longsheen gets some deep wards for themselves, and RNG now with some decent vision on Krug camp and the top of red there.
Karsa looking to attack the bot lane. I don't think they can go for a dive, and that ward has just been spotted out by SKT, so they have information on where Karsa is and keep track of Clid and how he reacts. He's also going to be spotted by RNG, and there's the flag.
Guaranteeing the root. He's going to hit the Sonic Wave of the follow-up. That's going to be a Xiaohu. No, the flash out just barely a sliver of life as Karsa will stop, and he followed. And immediately there's an engage on the bottom side. Ming going for an aggressive trade, but no one has dropped yet. Faker lower and lower. No, the Jarvan's going to get it. We missed it on the bottom side, but Karsa will find first blood.
Xiaohu flashes away and survives with a sliver of health, but Faker not so lucky. Bottom side.
Knockup is there. Uzi under the tower. Is he going to go down the flash out? No, he takes effort out with him. It's the 1-for-1 so far. Teddy has no mana. Ming slowly but surely getting chipped away at the press the attack. Already proc. The damage is there, but not quite enough. Ming will be forced to flash to safety.
Action across the board, but it's RNG that come out ahead in the kills. And it all starts off in the mid lane. Both junglers making their way there. This looked like a clean gank. Kobe, you said the setup with Ryze Lee Sin is extremely easy, but the last tick just wasn't quite there for SKT. They were so close to finding that kill. And then Karsa knows, with the red buff, with no mana on Faker, with his flash gone, he can just chase Faker down.
Yeah, Karsa had done an early recall for challenging Smite and was able to get it. Meanwhile, bottom side, Ming's able to get that lockup, but Uzi dies even after burning the flash there on the outside, and we're right back to the action.
Constant aggressive trading, and it feels already a bit more bloody than the last time we saw these two teams go toe-to-toe. It was such a back and forth early to mid-game when we saw SKT and RNG go up against each other previously, but you can see on the graph a chaotic game, and no matter how far ahead one team got, there was always a chance for someone else to come back.
Yeah, it was a bit of a bumpy road there, as you can see, but a lot of the big spikes in SK Telecom gold that you could see between the 20 and 30 minute were from Twisted Fate plays from Faker roaming across the map. Here, RNG actually there to answer that first play that we're expecting. Lee Sin as well as Ryze combining, but with them getting the outplay and Karsa actually finding that first blood cash in, this really does set up RNG to answer back.
Xiaohu has to be careful though. He's not going to overcommit to the play. Karsa waiting in the darkness there will now be spotted on the ward, but level 6 coming through. That's the extra range for the Kayle. Much easier now to farm, much easier now to trade on top of the additional elixir, and Karsa feeling comfortable enough to just walk right into this pit.
Well, he should, because his bot lane has so much control. And something that you were talking about earlier on, Kobe, was how the reason why RNG more often than not play through Uzi is not because he needs raw resources, but because he's such a talented AD carry that it makes sense to put him in a great position. And if you look at the gold, he's sitting at a 500 gold advantage thanks to the Kleptomancy and thanks to how dominant he has been in this 2 versus 2.
Exactly. We saw them earn their 2v2 CS lead themselves, and then as soon as the junglers show mid, go for the aggressive play. We're still looking at a bit of a roam from Faker, though. Now that Ryze does have the Realm Warp, there are more possibilities. So I'd like to point out one of the wards, actually, that I really do like in mid lane, which we'll see which side of the lane Faker hovers towards. People often, with these limited resources of wards, will try and ward both sides to see everywhere on the map. But if you only have a couple, trying to get one in the middle just to see which side he leans to will give you that early notification.
Clid spotted on the control ward. Karsa waiting just in the darkness. Now rotating around, maybe looking for the lane gank. Effort waiting in the brush there. No flash available for Teddy. The Hex flash there from Ming. Will not catch anyone sleeping. Effort has already backed off.
Nothing more terrifying than a giant stone gargoyle flashing in your face and saying, peekaboo, I'm here, ready to make a play, but they're not going to find anything. Clid hanging around the mid lane. And notice how often Langjing is actually roaming every time he has push in top. He's a large part of where the top side deep vision is coming from, and he's setting up a lot of control in the river as well.
And as we're seeing Karsa once again, I just want to note, this is the second time he went for a lane gank. This is how you try and get into the lane like bottom lane, unannounced. However, SK Telecom have been diligent with their side brush wards. And for a second time, RNG had to spend time sweeping out that vision, and it is a second attempt at a lane gank from Karsa slipping into the side brush that does not yield them anything in Uzi's lane.
Karsa spotted out as well on the blue buff. Going to donate this one over to Xiaohu, but they're just so successful in the junglers tracking each other here in the early game.
See a bit of a roam from Effort. I love it when we see supports, when there's no need to be in the bot lane, they get active, they move on the map. Best setup when working with their junglers especially, because it guarantees you deep vision and looking for roams. And speaking of roams, Faker is making his way towards the bot lane.
No more biz up and available. Very short range at rank 1, but could try to find a way into the bottom side. Ming just now coming in.
The pings are coming down. RNG is aware that Faker should be looking for a play, and as he walks over that ward, they know his positioning and will be able to avoid the game.
Yep, once again, these two wards from RNG see the attempted play from SKT, and that's why we're getting so many lulls periods here in the early game. It's because of this extra information, so much of an investment from RNG, really paying off and stopping some of these SKT plays before they even get off the ground.
And now we need to talk about scaling. Inevitably, when a game slows down, is something that we have to look at. We've talked about the theoretical team fight power of the side of RNG. Are they the team that should be happy with a slower, steadier early game as opposed to something more explosive?
Well, I think in the mid-game, SKT have a very strong spike, especially with their solo laners. Rise and Gangplank on 1 or 2 items can be very influential, whereas the Kayle, I feel like she needs to get to 3, and depending on what build Ezreal goes for, also needs to get to 3. But I do think RNG have the slight scaling advantage, depending on whether or not how the next few minutes play out, because it's going to be about team fighting versus side lane, very similar to what we saw before. And whether or not, or which team is better set up to move into that state in the mid to late game.
And they're looking for a little bit slightly different things as the game does progress, right? RNG have so much potential for a large AoE play. They're trying to use the Cataclysm of Jarvan with the Kayle ultimate down on top and Galio coming through as a big AoE, highly effective group maneuver. Right now, though, starting up the Rift Herald for SK Telecom. They made the first recall, but RNG are here to answer.
Oh, she's on the way. Can just ult the Lee Sin to try to get him out of this pit to stop this objective from going down. It will just be the hop of the wall, but it is 3k health. They could still look to contest this. 5 members of SKT now piling into the Galio's there with the taunt. It's not going to stop the Realmore power. The fight breaks out. Karsa immediately kills Khan, the Mordekaiser, in the midst of everything, and the Kayle will stop him from going down. Clean from Xiaohu.
And just as I mentioned, the big AoE for the team fight for RNG pays off in the ultimate usage there. They do get the kill, and even though the Rift Herald was slain by SKT, they can now play Defend the Eyeball.
Ming doing his best to keep SKT away from the big eyeball. He's looking for a fight.
Wants to keep going. Uzi, there's members here, but there's too many members of SKT. That was not the play that they needed.
Ming's gone rogue! What is he doing? All by himself, charges down SK Telecom, and they're going for more. The eyeball's still there. Can they race to it?
Xiaohu on the way in. Carson needs to get out. He's waiting for the stun to come through. He dashes right back to the team. He flashes out to safety. Sonic Wave goes wide. SKT will back off.
The eyeball disappears from the rift, and RNG, after what was a good... Okay. After what was a good start to the fight, ended up with Ming being a little over-eager to keep SKT around. And overall, this was a situation where we talked about while the items spike harder for SKT in the mid game, when you group up in a situation like this, you can see how difficult it is to fight against RNG. And we're getting flashbacks to the last time that these two teams placed up. And notice how that Rumble actually split the team up. We don't have time, another fight.
Taunt will connect on the Faker. Uzi is here as well. How much damage can they actually put down? The Mordekaiser now stepping forward, looking to use the Grasp of Death. Will not be able to pull anyone back. RNG, though, complete control of the mid lane. Could look to break some plates.
Yeah, they could also rotate down to this dragon. They can push in that minion wave. This will be another objective that they can turn towards. And adding a Mountain Drake to a team that has a big AoE combination, that just shouts the dream setup for Baron. Hello, they're going to get Baron control with the Mountain Drake and dare SK Telecom to walk into them.
And one of the criticisms I had of SKT coming into this tournament was that while they are a fantastic and much better early game team, they seem to have this over tendency to try and force fights. We saw it a lot in the last time that these two teams matched up, and it was almost SKT's undoing. And one of my question marks today was, would SKT draft more towards team fight, or would they keep to this side lane split push style? And it feels like that even though they've gone for more of a side lane split push style, they're still eager and willing to try and take these fights. And it's dangerous against a team like RNG, who is known for their team fighting and often drafts for it.
Yeah, and I think that last fight really highlighted how they were a little bit lazy setting up for that Rift Herald. SKT walking across in the line, really providing a very good opening for Ming to get in there on Galio. They get the big burst kill so quickly. Definitely not something you're used to seeing from SK Telecom over the years, but part of this aggressive new SK Telecom is another reason why they are here. You know, they had to change from the old style that caused the downfall of so many of those Korean teams. They really have had to embrace part of the new age.
They certainly have, and one of the big people that we credit that to is Clid in the jungle. He was so instrumental in even swinging team fights into SKT's favor the last time they met up. His Gragas was phenomenal, and overall, he's had a great tournament, and we even heard Spawn on the desk saying that he thinks that Clid is the best performing jungler at this tournament. So the fact that this team is playing a lot more around him, it showcases the evolution that they've made. We'll have to see if it's enough to take down RNG a second time.
Clid and Karsa, definitely two of the favorites for top junglers in the tournament, and this group will tell us a lot about what's to come in the bracket stage to see which of these teams is stronger. For now, still a very close game. Both teams within touching distance of each other, neither one able to get a greater advantage over the other. Only the Mountain Drake, really the substantial objective, as RNG have managed to take that one.
And I like that at the 15-minute point, you can pivot for strategy now, because we've gone past the early stacking phase of the game where they're just trying to lane and get their items. Now you've got a level 11 Rise, a level 11 Gangplank on the side of SK Telecom. They want to transition into their 1-3-1 that they drafted for. Faker's Rise should be split pushing. They need to wear away at these towers. Gangplank Ultimate for Khan is available, and he also has teleport to answer. So SKT trying three-man mid, hold here, holding on to those waves, and they have sent these side laners to split RNG's combo up.
As we get further in the game, you can see Uzi holding on to that 500 gold difference that we saw in the early game. Also saw him use an Ezreal earlier just to snipe a few creeps away from Longshi on the top side. So slowly but surely getting stronger and stronger as Ezreal, and maybe not the traditional hyper carry, but 2 items under his belt, he is going to be a terror to deal with.
And you see SKT actually not greeting right now. They could have greeted for more tower damage on the top side, but you need to get your reset off versus this squad, because you have to keep up this tremendous vision that they have to allow them to keep on playing the way that they are. Big reason here, you can see the smattering of wards for RNG. They need to get them a little bit deeper to find the Leona. Someone has to mark Leona, because if not, you're worried about that long-range stun picking off one of your squishier members.
And I think that what both teams are looking at over the next few minutes will be the Infernal Drake. Minute and a half until that objective spawn. Both teams will definitely want it, and with the Seraphs completed and the Trinity Force completed, SKT will feel a little bit more comfortable setting up for that objective, but in an ideal world, they don't want to have to fight for it. They want to try and use pressure on the map to force RNG into an awkward situation where maybe SKT could find a pick, or they force RNG to trade the Infernal Drake for something elsewhere on the map. But that's not RNG's style. They're going to contest you for vision, and they're going to look to fight for this Infernal themselves.
I'm excited for this Infernal, Vedius, because the items are coming through. 2 item power sparks for both marksmen right now. Key items for both solo laners as well. And Xiaohu's got his eyes on Faker.
Faker running down. No CC present. Faker will just be able to Realm Warp out to safety, but threatening that engage. There's going to be one cooldown missing for the fight to come. If they do want to contest that Infernal, 37 seconds and counting down till that one will spawn as Uzi and Ming try to get mid-priority. Want to make sure that they can be first to the pit.
So a lot of things are happening right now. Khan is going back to base so that he can spend his gold. Ooh, he's deciding not to do it. Okay, he wants to try and catch one more wave before he resets, but he wants to spend that gold before the inevitable fight is coming through. Trinity Force is now done for Uzi, so at this portion of the game, he's going to be much stronger. Rageblade is done for Teddy. We're building up all these things coming together that will culminate in what should be a big fight around the Infernal Drake.
This is the training arc. We're waiting. Everybody's powering up. Everybody's getting every item they can under their belt before they break out. We're waiting for a single engage, a single Leona E. It can be the Galio, it can be the Jarvan, however either team wants to start it. And now the gauntlet has been set. The Infernal.
Here comes the TP.
Going to be right into the taunt. The flash out from Khan. That's a clean start, but right now RNG are currently split. Uzi has to debate where he wants to go. The ulti already coming out, trying to isolate Leona, trying to stop the CT, but Xiaohu already incredibly low in the back of the pit. Blocked there. Teddy just leaps in and takes the kill. And now Uzi has to go toe-to-toe with the Infernal Drake. His effort goes over the wall. This is a disaster for RNG. The Mordekaiser trying to get done what he can, but Uzi is still alive. Uzi is still in the pit fighting the Drake as the Mordekaiser and Faker go toe-to-toe, but Ming drops, and SKT take the fight.
SKT absolutely ripped RNG apart in that dragon fight. Xiaohu getting focused at the beginning, causing the early KO ultimate, and then flashing into the dragon pit causes an early deficit in their team fighting prowess, and SK Telecom sweep in to get the important trait.
It looked initially like RNG had the better setup. They saw the TP come through from Khan, he's forced to burn his flash, and you can see that now RNG are in a great position, but then a huge Gangplank ultimate onto Xiaohu pretty much eliminates him from the fight, and Teddy cleans up. Now Uzi's stuck in the pit, he can't deal damage. Lang Jing is just 1v1ing effort trying to remove the engage from SKT, but that doesn't matter, and ultimately what looked good initially for RNG was just a scattered fight with which SKT was able to pick RNG apart.
Divide and conquer for SK Telecom. Faker applying the pressure early, getting the Rune Prison down, holding Xiaohu in place. Basically upsetting RNG's game plan that they want with this Wombo combo. An absolute combo breaker there with the Leona ultimate going down early too. Thought that RNG were going to be able to bring it together, but no focus in the team fight cost them dearly.
Split fire, losing the KO right at the start. Of course, only 1.5 items for Xiaohu thus far, not to the level 16 point, the next thing that we've got our eye on. So has time to scale back up, but can't afford to take another uncoordinated fight in the future. And losing that Infernal is going to hurt them more and more as we get later into the game.
And one of the big things about that fight was that now even more gold has gone into the back pocket of Faker and Khan. The two solo laners of SKT are only going to get stronger, and they're actually yet to spend a lot of the gold that they're sitting on. Keep your eyes on the items of Faker once he hits the shop, because with 2.5k gold in your inventory, you can pick up those additional items, and now you are so much stronger than you were in the last fight.
And objectives start to go down. They want to split the map. Bottom turret taken care of. Top will be the next destination for them. If you can get that, you empower your 1-3-1 to, well, here we go.
Flying a drag over Uzi is so incredibly strong. Khan just gets one shot. That's the 2-item spike for the Ezreal paired with that ultimate.
And RNG cut them off before they can get to the next objective. They know they're going topside, so they get the early kill, and now Baron control results.
Another flag and drag effort once again caught out. The CC is there. They're going to land the taunt. They're going to make sure that he has no way out of this fight. Effort. Still running. Someone finished the kill. Hits him with the gunblade. Bang, bang. RNG control over the pit.
And now RNG are going to go straight for Baron. We've been talking so much about the solo laners, we forgot to talk about Uzi, where all of the gold is sitting on for RNG. That damage was ridiculous. Let's see if Clid can steal.
Next flash, trying to deny Clid. He gets kicked back with the taunt lands there. He's trying to buy more time.
He puts him in.
But no, the Mordekaiser ulted. See ya, Clid. Not what you wanted. RNG gonna take this fight. Ming gonna make it out alive. It's everything the LPL second seed could want.
And RNG flipped the game on its head once again. The Baron goes down for them. They don't lose a single member. The gold remains even, but we're in for another masterclass between RNG and SKT.
RNG get to the top side of the map 10 seconds earlier than SKT, and they are rewarded so heavily with those 2 picks. Also, reward to Longxing. Learned from the first time around he played Mordekaiser. This time, he instantly ults the jungler to secure the Baron control for them. You cannot smite if you have entered the Death Realm. And now, with the Baron buff, RNG will march on SK Telecom territory.
And this is important because it's going to be so much harder for SKT to try to split up the map. Faker can push down that side lane, probably can take that tier 1, but has to be concerned about that mid lane, has to be concerned about the fact that RNG are now set up to break 2, if not 3 towers on this push.
Yeah, I mean, they're extremely strong, and remember the RNG, they have the teleports that they didn't have last time, so there's no sneaky backdoors that are going to come through from SKT this time around. Faker being forced to base as RNG set their sights on the tier 3.
Longshing on the bottom side, Faker just now backing. Kick will connect, but there's going to be no follow-up. SKT holding on for now. It's a matter of protecting the cannon creeps as the Mordekaiser starts the bot side wave, but no, Faker instead has decided to continue his push. Mordekaiser will be forced to retreat. Faker can now back and look for a man advantage in the fight unless Longshing wants to commit his TP to this mid lane. GP ult now coming out. Not a lot of damage onto the tower. They need to get out before the fight kicks off. Ming wants to go in anyway, right to the GP ult. What was that?
Ming once again diving into the face of the enemy team and just handing his life away on a silver platter.
I'm going to need to see a replay because has Ming gone rogue again? Let's take a... All right, well, this is the Baron. This is it. Even more important, this is what Clid sees. As we said, once you enter the Death Realm, Baron's not there.
Longjing saying, you've activated my trap card. You're coming to the Shadow Realm with me. He denies the Baron steal and allows RNG to get the secure. But we have to backtrack to what just happened here. And this is a beautiful replay. What is Ming thinking here? Okay, he's not. That's what we've concluded. That's what he's doing.
He's thinking this. He's thinking Leroy Jenkins.
I mean, it's a classic. I will say that I don't mind it if you wait out the Gangplank ult. You know, just wait for that one to end, and I think it would have made a lot more sense.
Well, the bright side for RNG is that they don't cost their lead. They're still in a favorable position. They gained control over a lot of the map. They've been able to secure a lot more items in their back pocket, and look at how much control they have over the top side. Gangplank is currently sitting bot, his ultimate is going to be up soon, and Longjing is going to be forced to deal with him.
Tier 2 tower will be broken on the top side for RNG. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to break the base on this Baron push. At least for now, 21 seconds left. Khan still threatening on the bottom side, so despite the Baron buff, SKT still finding some success with split pushing.
All right, take a deep breath. After the Baron play, after the dive on mid, RNG have taken over so much of the map. Take stock of the towers, both on top side, both in mid lane, now gone and taken away from SKT. This allows the vision control to starve out the jungle now for RNG. They can move up with the threat of this AoE from Galio Jarvan combination for engaging and push SK Telecom around.
And what SKT now want to do is ideally look for picks as RNG are making moves to set up for the next big objectives, which will be this Baron. Because in a straight-up 5v5, I think even though the Teddy is at 3 items and is a very strong Kai'Sa, the team fight execution is so much harder for that of SKT because they don't have the same front line that RNG has. They don't have the Jarvan. They don't have the Mordekaiser who can literally remove someone from a fight as well. And so I think it's going to be harder. They need to make plays like this.
Longshing just going to try to pull Faker into the Death Realm. Going to take the tower out of the equation, and the Mordekaiser does a lot of damage. Longshing now is to the hills, just on the edge of the Death Realm. He's going to come right out into the cannon barrage, and now he's on the retreat. Has used the shield, has used the indestructible, but it's Xiaohu kicked into the middle of the team. He will flash out a beautiful taunt from Ming, trying to make up for earlier as RNG will pull back on the bottom side.
So a quick collapse there from RNG as SKT tried to find a pick. The initial idea was good, but the use of the Death Realm from Longjing mitigates it, turns it into a 1v1, and is able to escape.
That's why in Champion Select we highlighted the possibilities here of the Mordekaiser for delaying those picks in split pushes. With using that ultimate, he buys time for the extra survivability of the RNG composition to take effect. Multiple re-engages there for RNG to actually save members and get them out from under the tower.
He's also a Gnasher's Tooth Mordekaiser, so as much as he's buying time, he also will just threaten to 1v1 kill most members of SKT as the Cataclysm comes out. Effort has to flash out to safety. RNG not overcommitting to the play. They'll get the TP, though, from Khan on the back of that one.
And RNG are just forcing SKT to group. They're forcing SKT to be in a situation that suits RNG perfectly, and we kind of have to go back to the early game where we talked so much about SKT wanting to play through bot, which they were unable to do. While their side laners were going even and they found that one big fight around the Drake, unfortunately SKT have not been able to balloon or snowball this lead, so that we're ending up in this stalemate of 5v5 standoff.
Yeah, quick macro test here for SK Telecom. They're down teleports on both solo laners. RNG has a level 16 teleport available Mordekaiser, who just pushed up the bottom lane. And with Baron spawning here, they're moving over to try and find the engage.
Bert with a miss, just barely going wide. Uzi now knows he's free to poke. So a lot of the threat is gone from the Leona. SKT backing into the pit. They have control over this area. Gangplank going to clear out the last little bit of vision that RNG were holding on to.
SKT is split.
Maybe they find the engage here. Mordekaiser has the ulti and the flash up and available. Can't look to just lock someone out of the fight.
RNG could have left their Mordekaiser split pushing, by the way, but they really want to force this 5-on-5.
Ming really does not land that taunt, has no longer a reliable way to proc that aftershock. Someone sidesteps, so will be forced to flash out to safety. But now the engage, they found SKT split, they've locked Faker into the pit. Are they going to aggro the Baron to try to get it kicked off? He will. Uzi's going to see that one coming, and now the support is dead. He's trying to realm warp his way out. He's going to do it. Faker, the escape artist, gets out in the play, and Khan on the side with a huge barrel, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. He's now running fearlessly into the front line of RNG. They're trying to kick him back, but Yahoo says no. They deny it. Teddy now on a rampage. RNG on a retreat, and SKT, they're alive, and the Kaisa is taking over the fight.
They failed the macro test. They had more cards available here with the Baron spawning. They force it on Baron. SK Telecom outplay them in the team fight, and the Baron is theirs to start.
Huge props to Khan in that final fight. The barrels were beautiful as they hit every single member of RNG. They are now the team to walk away with the Baron. They outplay them in the fight, and they keep their hopes alive in this game.
And just an incredible fight. Before we see it again, it's on RNG now to take what they can. For now, that's just a Mountain Drake, a second one to back them up. And as we look back at this exchange, have to keep an eye on exactly what went wrong for RNG.
So the initial part is here. SKT are split up, and while Ming is a little over-eager once again, he's forced to flash early, but now you see Faker and Effort forced to run up through the river. This is a good engage from RNG. They should have put a little bit more focus onto actually securing the kill onto Faker, but he's out of the fight, it's done. Now Long Jing, he's completely isolated himself from the rest of the team.
Oh my.
And then keep your eyes on Khan here. Look at what he does with the barrel. The triple hit onto every member means that Teddy, with a 3-item Kaisa, can just follow up behind the Lee Sin and just go kill after kill after kill.
Then Klid going in, baiting out the Kale ultimate, flashing to the outskirts. Faker surviving with single-digit HP. And we're into chapter 2 here.
He doesn't even react. He's like, all right, just another day for Faker. As the siege now begins for SKT in the mid lane, Uzi potentially going to get cut off on the side. A good sidestep, but now the GP ulti is coming through. Khan fishing for that barrel, but will not be able to find it. Klid may also look for the flank, but has been spotted on a bit of vision as Faker continues to split on the top side of the map.
Let that be a lesson to you. A good GP barrel chain can drastically change your fates. Now it is SK Telecom wearing the Baron buff. Part 2 of this game, as we have gone back and forth since minute 2.
Yep. And you know it's going to be a tense ending. The last time these two teams met, it was a split push back door that came out from SKT, the triple teleport to be able to secure the Nexus and get the win. We're in a very similar situation where both teams have had a Baron each. While RNG lead in the Drakes, SKT have the Infernal. And you know that both teams are scaling still relatively well. SKT would prefer to play through the side lanes, try and split up the map. Whereas RNG looking for this fight. Uzi not able to find the pick onto Effort, but an incredibly tense game still.
Big chunks coming in. The Kaisa is getting stronger and stronger, though, and that's going to make these team fights more difficult. And we saw it in the last one. Teddy, the second he saw those major cooldowns are gone from the side of RNG. He's no longer threatened, and he can just walk through this team. Maybe Xiaohu can look to match him in the fights to come. Has the Divine Judgment, has that ultimate. But for now, SKT with total control. Faker going to TP into the mid lane. They want to keep this momentum going as they move later into the game.
Xiaohu has now hit level 16, so he will be permanently exalted. The Kale is at one of her strongest points as SKT continue to knock down the towers. The towers are now even between both teams, and we're pretty much going to reset the map state to even.
Yeah, well, guess what? Faker's hit level 18. He's exalted for Rise. Fully capped out there. Looking at a possible death cap on top of it, too. Like to see... Oh!
Trying to cancel. Khan flashing out, but he's still locked in. That's... Oh, has to be a heartbreaker. Caught between the wall and the Cataclysm. Khan goes down.
Unfortunately for RNG, there is nothing for them to get on the map after that pick. It's definitely a valuable pick that they can use to clear out all of this jungle vision that SK Telecom just placed in their bottom red quadrant. But other than some vision cleaning duty to do, that is not going to be a game-changing pick for them.
The bright side is they will get the flash out from Khan, which those summoner spells later into the game are extremely valuable. He will still have the oranges for safety, but we'll see how that affects him later on into the game. Honestly, though, both teams going to be waiting for the next Baron. There's no need to try and force anything right now. That will be the biggest objective coming up next, and we're going to have a look back. Of course, Khan, he has...
Just farming away, you know?
Just let's get that cheeky
Those
one-shot
chickens.
of the Raptors in there in case anyone...
Oh, he's in the shop!
And, oh, no. Well...
A pirate's life.
See, no matter how bad you feel about your solo queue games while you die shopping, it happens to everybody, you know? High-pressure Worlds games, Bronze 3.
SK Telecom will always remember this as the day they did catch Captain Khan.
He wants parlay, Kobe.
Now the Baron will be spawning in about 1 minute and 15 seconds. You can see that RNG do primarily have vision control around this objective. They could look to, yeah, you can see the Galio resetting, stocking up on wards, making sure that even though they have this control, when SKT come to contest, they still have wards that can be replaced.
I absolutely love watching these two storied teams with all the veterans in-game for these late-game scenarios, too. Now, past 34 minutes into the game, fully ready for the Dragon spawn here. Teleport starts to go out.
He coming in. That's going to be the Flying Drag going on to the Leona, though. Teddy on the backside. Are they going to be able to take anyone else out? Effort trying to find the stun. Karsa kicked out of the fight instantly, and Uzi is going to get kicked back, but no, with a cleanse flash. It's incredibly clean. He denies the lease in, but now he's face-to-face with Teddy, and still Clip will find him. Still, Uzi is set to fall. Can he do it? No! The shutdown coming through. Faker will take the kill, and Longxing is left standing in the death realm, but it is his death realm, and he is out of there.
And SKT smash RNG in the team fight. All 5 members are dead. SKT still have 4, and they are barreling towards the Nexus.
Yep, they're looking for the inhibitor at least, maybe ending the game. How fast can they push?
Pushing faster and faster, there's nothing left. This is it. I can't believe it, RNG. They fought tooth and nail at every opportunity, but SKT outclassing them in the team fights will lock them a place in the knockout stage and will give them the head-to-head versus RNG.
Unbelievable final team fight from SKT. It happened in the blink of an eye, but it was just RNG putting all of their resources into trying to kill Effort, and he just did not die. Meanwhile, Karsa just disappears under the damage from Teddy.
And I think we need to see the replay. If I'm completely honest, I want to watch it back. I want to watch it 10 times. It was incredible team fighting. The Lee Sin from Clid was out of this world. And when he landed the kick, I thought it was over, but no, the cleanse flash from Uzi, still not enough to win the fight.
And with this win, SKT will lock a spot in the quarterfinals. Their seeding is yet to be determined. They still have to play out the rest of the day, but SKT will be in the knockout stage.
SK Telecom could set themselves up for another 6-0 group stage.
Yeah.
One of the only teams to ever accomplish that, and they are looking so incredibly powerful.
And really, for RNG, still can be confident to make their way out of this group, but have to be left wondering, what can they change, what can they improve, because